It's so hot outside today. I was playing pickleball and I think I just about had a heat stroke. It's no joke out there, but it is what it is. We got a liquid IV. That's strong. Ugh. Let's read some stories. This one is called Heard Crying While Turkey Hunting. I've hunted turkeys for years, mostly in Oklahoma and spots local to me. I'm an Okie, born and raised. Anyway, this happened a while back when I was a young man. Right at the start of turkey season, in a spot I got permission to hunt. I pulled up way before daylight, parked off a dirt road, and walked into the woods. If you know turkey hunting, it's a game of patience. Get set up, get quiet, start calling, and wait. I set my decoys out in a little clearing and tucked myself back against a big old oak tree. Morning mist was clinging to everything, real thick that day. Kinda eerie and a little out of the ordinary for the place I was hunting. Once it was time, I did a few soft yelps on my call, just trying to coax a long beard in. Not 5 minutes later, I heard a distant gobble. Adrenaline kicked in. Then, right after that, I heard something else. Crying. Like human crying. Faint, but enough to stop me dead. At first, I thought it had to be a weird bird I had never heard, or maybe a coyote making a racket. I've heard coyotes make some freaky noises when they get riled up, so I shook it off and kept hunting. That's not something I would shake off, honestly. But I've never been hunting myself, and any noise like that would just... I would be out of there. Or I would be holding my breath to see if I hear it again. Oh, so good. But then, it came again. What'd I say? This is when I would actually leave now. Clearer this time. It wasn't an animal, it was a human. Sounded like a baby or a real small kid, crying somewhere behind me in the trees. Nah, let's go. Pack up your tent, get your turkey collar, and let's go. Time to go home. At that point, I was concerned. I figured maybe someone's kid had wandered off from one of the homes around there or something. You never know. It did sort of scare me, but I was more worried that a kid was in the woods alone and by themselves. I have nieces, nephews, and younger cousins, so it stirred something in me. I got my gun and started picking my way through the brush, following the sound. I kinda had to fight my way through a briar patch and some cedars, which isn't ever fun, but it was definitely crying I was hearing. It finally came to an old oak tree. It was twisted all up. Old as heck, looked like it had been struck by lightning at some point. There was a hollow near the base, big enough to crawl into if you wanted. It sounds like some Stranger Things thing about to happen here. The crying sounded like it was coming from inside the hollow. I just stood there, heart pounding, trying to see something in the dark hole. I was honestly trying to work up the courage to look inside, but before I could even take a step closer, the crying stopped, like someone had flipped a switch. Dead silence. I backed up real slow, didn't turn my back until I got some distance between me and that tree. I started to call my dad, but the whole thing left me feeling crazy. I felt like I imagined it, but I know what I heard. I grabbed my gear and hiked out fast. Didn't even hunt the rest of the day. I think that's the right thing to do at this point. Either something there is haunted or there really is a kid stuck in that tree, but the fact that it just stopped, it's weird. I don't know that I would have kept going either. A month or two later, I was talking to a buddy of mine at his house. We were getting ready to go fishing and his uncle was out there holding court around the tailgate of his truck. We got to talking and I told him about it and he got real quiet. He's full-blood Seminole. I'm not sure how familiar you folks are with Oklahoma's history, but the Seminoles were one of the tribes that were sent here in the 1800s. And I was hunting some land that would have been theirs in an area they would have settled in. Anyways, he explained quietly, almost reverently, that the Seminole people traditionally buried stillborn babies in the hollows of trees, believing the trees protected the tiny souls until they could pass on peacefully. I still get chills thinking about it. I don't think what I heard was trying to scare me. I think it just was. Like an old sadness still hanging around. It kind of sounds, I don't know why I keep thinking of this, but it sounds like the, spoiler alert, just so you know, but you should have seen it by now. Third movie in the Harry Potter series, Prisoner of Azkaban. They go into this tree at the end of the movie where they find this, I forget his name, but he turns into a rat. And it just happens to be inside this big old tree. And I just kind of keep thinking that's what it looks like for some reason. When I'm in the woods, I still think of that tree sometimes and the tiny voice held gently within. It reminds me that even places we believe we know intimately can hold mysteries beyond our understanding. and that not every unexplained sound in the wild is meant to harm us. I've thought about it a lot, and the best I can come up with is that some things are simply meant to be remembered, respected, and left in peace. Anyone else ever heard anything similar? I haven't been turkey hunting, so no. I'm not a big woods guy either, so I haven't really had much exposure to this. But it is very interesting on the whole Seminole background. I didn't know that, and it definitely sounds like it was a baby that had been buried there a long time ago. Let's see what the comment said. Is it possible that it was a gray catbird call? They have been recorded sounding like crying babies. Let's see what they sound like. I'm trying to close my eyes and picture a baby crying. It sounds like a baby crying or a squeaky door opening. I can't tell which one, but fair enough, it could be one of them. That's a pretty wild story, and you told it well enough to spark some imagery. I can't claim to have any answers or explanations for what you heard or saw, but I do think there's some reasonable validity to at least semi-explain what exactly happened in that tree. Whether it was decades ago or months ago, there's something in the woods that we don't quite understand. There are too many stories like yours to just brush off as imaginary. And that's exactly why I stay off the woods. Unless I need to pee on a road trip or something. Yeah, crazy story. Alert, recording a story. Yeah, you might make it in the video, I don't know. Can you say next story real quick? I'm in between next stories. Story?
Next story.
Now, hold on. Say it in like 3 seconds when I stop talking.
Okay.
You're gonna say
next
it?
Story.
Oh my god. Were you waiting for me to say something?
Okay. Next story.
There we go.
Okay. Do you need me to do it again?
No.
Okay.
Something about this guy in my apartment building doesn't feel right. I'd say if it doesn't feel right, it's probably not right, but let's find out. Not really sure where to post this, but whatever. I just need to get it off my chest. I live in a pretty average apartment complex. Nothing fancy, 3 floors, kinda quiet. I've been here for a little over a year now, and most people keep to themselves. Say hi in the hall, take out the trash, that's it. A few weeks ago, this new guy moved into the unit across from mine. Early 30s maybe? Thin, buzz cut, always wearing the same gray hoodie even when it was hot out. Didn't really think much of him at first. People come and go here. I do know a few people that wear the same hoodie no matter what they're doing. It could be 100 degrees outside, it could be 30. I guess good for them. Maybe they just keep it simple and you don't even have to worry about what you're gonna wear the next day. I guess there's good to that. You don't lose time choosing an outfit. He leaves his door open sometimes, not like open, but cracked. Just enough to see the light on the inside. Never any noise, no TV, no talking. I've never seen anyone go in or out except for him. One time, I was taking the trash out around 1 in the morning, and he was just standing in the hallway, not doing anything. Nah, bro. No phone, just standing by his door, staring at the floor like he was waiting for something. No, this sounds so creepy. I said, hey, and he didn't even flinch. Just kept standing there like I wasn't there. I walked past him and felt my skin crawl, like when you know someone's watching you. Fast forward to last night. I woke up around 3 in the morning because I heard this soft knocking. Not loud, just a few taps, spaced out. I thought it was my door, but when I looked through the peephole, no one was there. I stood there for a second, and right as I started to turn away, I heard it again. This time, it sounded like it was coming from inside the hallway. Just slow, spaced out knocks, like someone testing how quiet they could be. I opened the door and looked out. Nothing. But his door was open again. A little wider than usual. I couldn't see anything inside, just darkness. This sounds like a video game. You need to get out. This is where you don't go by the door and you just go out the exit of your building and just restart the game. I didn't go any closer. Closed my door, locked everything, sat in my living room with the lights on like a dummy for an hour before going back to bed. He didn't leave his apartment at all today. I know because I stayed home from work just to see. No movement, no sound, just the door. Shut tight now. Maybe I'm being paranoid, but something about him just feels wrong. Like he's pretending to be normal but doesn't actually know how. I don't know. Should I say something to management? Cops? Feels dumb, but I've got this feeling in my chest that won't go away. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely out of normal human behavior, I would say. Nobody gets up in the middle of the night, like at 1 in the morning, and leaves the door open and stands in the hallway and being a creep. I mean, it could also be like a case of mental health. Maybe he's just like that and doesn't know any better, unfortunately. In which case, you should probably report it anyways and get him some help. but this definitely sounds out of place. Let's see what the comments say. Absolutely don't engage with this guy. Trust your instincts. Don't provide opportunities for this guy to have access to you. Don't take your garbage out at 1 a.m. That's what I was thinking. Like, who takes their garbage out at 1 unless you're just up all night busy and you forgot and you happen to take it out. Don't take your garbage out at 1 a.m. when no one is around. Don't open your apartment door at night when you hear a strange sound. You leave yourself vulnerable. Your neighbor now knows if he wants to draw you out at night, he just has to knock on the wall and you'll come out of your apartment. Always have your door key in your hand when you come home at night. And unlock your door quickly and go straight in. When you leave your apartment, never leave your door unlocked, even if you're just taking the garbage out. This is like normal apartment living etiquette, right? You never just leave your door unlocked. There's a bunch of people living in the same apartment complex. You never know who's being weird and checking doors. This is all stuff you should be doing anyways, whether there's a weird creepy guy living there or not. When you walk to your car, again, have your car keys in your hand and get in your car quickly and lock the door ASAP. Make sure your door is always locked. Maybe take a look at your windows and see that they can be locked also. This is just general lock everything suggestions. OP says, yeah, I've been a lot more careful since it happened, keeping everything locked and trying not to go out late. Really appreciate the advice. I mean, yeah, but that's not very helpful. You should be doing that regardless. Someone else said, thinks a creep might be knocking softly at his door. So naturally, I opened the door and looked out. Are you insane? I mean, yeah, it seems like either the story is made up or it seems like this person just has no reasoning for doing what they're doing. They're just like, oh, let's see what's out there. Like I said, as if it was a video game. You definitely look through the people. If you don't see anybody, you don't answer. My exact thoughts. OP says, couple comments have mentioned this. It was 3 a.m. and I wasn't thinking clearly. That being said, I'll be careful not to slip up like this again. I mean, yeah, I guess it can happen to anybody, but still, come on. Have a little bit more sense this late at night. Alright, next story. A memory from my year 3 school camp came back to me. And now I can't stop thinking about how weird it was. I live in a regional city in Australia. It's relatively big, but once you leave the center of the city, it's pretty much all bushland and trees. When I was in year 3, so 7 to 8 years old, my school took all the year on a school camp to a campground 45 minutes out of town. It was a one-night trip and we were all super excited. After a long day of archery, basketball, tennis, and all the other things you do on camps, we had dinner and went to bed. I distinctly remember laughing and messing around with all my friends before we all fell asleep around 11 p.m. Now the next part I had forgotten for years, until only recently it came back up in my mind and now it's the clearest part of my memory. I used to be terrified of the dark and used to wake up multiple times a night. This certain instance, I woke up in my cabin around 2 a.m. What's up with people just waking up in the middle of the night? Go to sleep like normal humans. I remember this as I had a watch that was very special to me. And for some reason, looking at it and checking the time comforted me in the dark. When I woke up, I felt like something was off. Not wrong, but off. I looked around my cabin and saw nothing of interest. But then I was struck with such an intense feeling to just look out the window. It was right next to my bed. Our room was in the second level of this cabin complex. So when you looked out the window, you had to look down to see the ground directly below you. When looking out the window, I saw nothing. And just when I started to look away, something caught my eye. I could have sworn I saw something right below the window. Almost out of sight if you were simply looking forward. I looked down and I saw someone. Not the average person, more like a... He was tall, maybe 6'3" or 6'4", and his skin looked like he had just fallen hard on cement. He was covered in scrapes and grazes, and his hair had been all buzzed off. He looked about 40, but I think he may have been a mid-20s, based on his super skinny build. He wore a dirty black hoodie and black jeans that looked like motorbike pants. He also wore what looked like a mix between a fedora and a cowboy hat. The image I have attached is almost exactly the same, if it looked more like a human. Wait, there's an image? Where's the image? The image must have been taken down because I no longer see it on here, unfortunately, so we won't get to see what this guy looked like. When I looked down, his eyes caught mine instantly. He was staring into the window. He didn't move his head there when he saw me. No, he had been actively staring into that window before I was even there. He stared with such wide eyes, like he was straining all the muscles in his face to pop his eyes out as much as possible. The second we locked eyes, I ducked back down and hid under the covers. I wanted to scream and yell and tell my friends, but I was so scared that I couldn't even move. I waited under those covers for what felt like hours, until I felt like it was safe. I'll tell you what though, those covers, they probably felt like the unbreakable shield that you can always hide behind. I was there as a kid too. I got so scared one time when I was like 7, maybe 8, maybe even younger. But my brother and I were sleeping in bunk beds and I was on the top one. And somehow I got it in my mind that there was some sort of monster below the bed I was sleeping in. And I just, every little noise that I would hear, I would think it was this monster shuffling around. So what I did is I covered myself up all the way to my head in these covers, and they were thick covers. And I just laid there for what felt like 2 hours. I was sweating. All the covers were getting wet because I just wouldn't move. I was so scared. So I couldn't relate to this. It was awful. I slowly peeked out from the covers again and checked the window. He was still there. He had moved a bit to the right, but he was still there, staring intently at my window. I didn't even get to become fully level with the window before I ducked out of sight again and went back under the covers, whimpering. I'm not sure how, but I managed to fall asleep. When I woke up, it was light out, and all my friends were happily awakening after their sleep. I woke up and checked the window again, praying he was gone, and luckily he was. I told my friends about it that morning, and they all laughed at me for having a nightmare, and I think I believed it. Yeah, it's a good thought that it could have been a nightmare, and it just felt so real that it's believable. What are you doing? Come here, you want to say hi? Come here. This is Tilly, everybody. She is so cute, but she's also quite feral when she wants to be. Oh, are you breathing hard? Listen to her breathing. I forgot about it for 10 years, but when it came back to me the other week, I realized that it couldn't have been a dream. Everything was so real. I have very weird dreams, never having one that actually makes sense. My dreams always flow so weirdly, so the absolute consistency is almost proof to me that this actually happened. Also, I specifically remember laying under my covers for ages, something that I doubt would happen in a dream. I have no idea who was outside my window or what he was doing. I just hope that he isn't continuing with what he was doing, because that look in his eyes told me that whatever he was doing there, he wasn't messing around. I don't know what I saw, but I just wish I had an answer. I mean, if you say it wasn't a dream, then it wasn't a dream. It was probably someone who was homeless. It was probably someone looking for help, is my guess, aside from a very vivid dream. Let's see what the comments say. How did you see him in the dark? Especially details about his scrapes and grazes. And how did you know his hair was buzzed off if he was wearing a hat? That's true. I didn't catch that before. Especially if he was sleeping on the second floor, right? It was quite the distance to be able to see every detail of his face, especially with wearing a hat. OP did not reply to that, so we don't know. Yeah, we don't really have much on this to go with. That's gonna do it for us today. Hopefully you like these stories. If you do, let me know down below, and we'll keep on reading them. So thanks for watching. Have a great day. He's full-blown. I can't talk. It's been hot here. I played pickleball and I thought I was having a heat stroke for a second. You leave yourself vulnerable. You leave yourself